This is KMCV Channel 7, the only local channel covering all of the CNMI.
Hi there. Coming up on our news in just a few minutes, tourism leaders from throughout the region gathered today to discuss their strategy in getting more tourists to come here. And the speaker is back from a lobbying trip to the nation's capital on behalf of the 702 agreement for $120 million. And developing of land is one of the hottest issues facing the NMI. The permitting process for development is affected by Article 12. We tell you how tonight. Those stories and more, plus weather and sports, all ahead on KMCV News. Buenas noches para todos. Hamzu Tautau Saipan Luta Zantilian Guahu Si Carlotta de Leon Guerrero. Good evening and welcome to the Thursday cast of KMCV News. Longshot Willie and Lorraine Harrison with weather will join us later in the set. But now let's turn our attention to the top of our cast. 500,000 tourists visit the NMI every year. They didn't just happen upon the islands. They were directed here by tour agents who learned about the Marianas through the promotional and marketing efforts of the tourism industry. The coordination of that marketing effort was the topic of some discussion at today's meeting of the Pacific Asia Travel Association. Here's that story. Close to 2 million tourists a year come to the Mariana and Micronesia Islands to kick back and spend some time in the surf, sun, and sand. Making sure that tour agents around the world promote our destination is the job of the Pacific Asia Travel Association, or PATA. Today, the local chapter held its second quarterly meeting of the year to discuss marketing strategies and changes in the global tourism scene.
We will be undertaking a workshop in Auckland, New Zealand and Sydney on the EEC package of regulations. You might be aware that as the EEC comes together in Europe, they are putting significant restrictions and directions on package travel.
Ian Kennedy is the vice president of the PATA Pacific chapter. His role is to keep the Micronesian chapter of PATA up to date on how best to capitalize on new developments in the tourism industry as a whole.
What I do here is to bring to them the sort of overview of what PATA corporately does, where we're heading, what issues we see, in the broader field, and how they translate into local Micronesian matters.
Don Heather of the Guam Visitors Bureau says there is strength in numbers, and you need it in order to sell the Western Pacific.
So we extend all the way to the Marshall Islands, all the way to Palau, where we cover an area the size of the continental U.S., about 300,000 people in Micronesia. So we're trying to promote it as a joint destination, not just a single island.
And while the push is on to get more tourists, the chairman of the board for the Guam Visitors Bureau, Sunny Atta, says tourism leaders on Guam have had to learn how to handle a downturn in the market. He tells reporter intern Lauren Harrison that occupancy figures are rising again from a low of 50 to 60%, teaching hotel owners on Guam some valuable lessons on how to cope with adversity.
Everyone's finally cutting off the fat, everyone's shaping up, and the competition is now not just internationally. I mean, there's a lot of local competition, so people's pricings are becoming more realistic, and people are really finding out at what operating levels they need to work at. So it's a good scare for us, if you will, because in the end, the consumer's going to have a better product.
Since millions of dollars are spent each year promoting the region as a tourist destination, what affects one part of the area affects the rest. That reasoning holds true for natural disasters like drought and typhoons. When Guam was hit hard by Typhoon Omar last year, the tourist figures for the NMI and Micronesia increased. Now regional tourism leaders are anxiously watching how the NMI deals with Article 12.
Something that's going to give Saipan a black eye will end up giving the region a black eye. There's a lot of Asian investment now, especially from Taiwan and Korea and some coming out of China, that's really looking at this area, and they're close, and there's a lot of prospects for it, and it'll really help us diversify from being totally reliant on the Japanese. But when you when you tell people they can invest and then turn around 4 or 5 years later and say that their business deal is no good and try to milk them for more money, then you're not going to promote yourself as a safe destination to put an investment.
I think to all of us who are in the tourism business, we're very concerned about this because it could have a devastating effect on the industry, and not only in Saipan but in the entire region. Well, it will definitely scare off potential investors, and without investors you will not be able to develop an infrastructure that will be able to sustain tourism.
From what we understand, I think it's going to affect the region because any adverse actions or any adverse effect to any of the islands would be a reflection on Micronesia as a whole. So we are concerned about it, and we will keep we're here also to find out what's happening as far as that's concerned. We wish them the best, and we hope the matter's settled as soon as possible.
We have had a decline in May from Japan, a 3% decline in May, but I cannot really say that that's attributed to Article 12. The tourists coming here, they're not familiar with the issues. So this is a bigger issue beyond the ordinary tourists coming out here. But with the recent announcement by Japan Airlines and Hotel Nikko on their concern about the results of this Article 12, it will have a tremendous impact on the islands because they're a major carrier to the islands. And Japan being our main market, it's definitely going to have a big impact.
The recent uproar over the Article 12 controversy has pushed discussion on our 702 $120 million financial aid package to the back burner. Speaker Tomas Vizagomez has been in the nation's capital lobbying with the Washington Rep Juan Babauta to keep the fire going under efforts to secure the 702 agreement as negotiated. The U.S. Senate passed the 702, and it now goes on the agenda for a conference committee meeting with the House to find some areas of common ground. Vizagomez says passing the local minimum wage increase bill helps our case with the current crop of reform-minded Washington legislators, but he says they still want more.
The House staff members, would like to see that we get all the requested legislation passed before they really go into conference. But since the Senate have included it on the conference provisions, they will be forced to, get into that issue. With the with the tax reform still pending, I guess the leverage not really that strong in there. But at least we got the minimum wage that can be helpful to the CNMI.
Vizagomez says he's convinced that we have many friends in Congress who have no desire to hurt the NMI by insisting on reform legislation here, particularly new tax reforms. He says the U.S. is suffering hard times and asking everyone to cut back as much as possible and to shoulder more of the burden. Palau President Kuniwo Nakamura settles a long-standing debt for his island nation, and we examine how Article 12 affects your ability to buy or build a home. Governor Lorenzo de Leon Guerrero is back from a trip to Tahiti, where he attended the 4th Pacific Islands Conference of Leaders. The governor delivered a speech on sustainable development and population in the CNMI. He told the gathering that small island communities can develop a higher standard of living through the responsible use of an alien workforce. But he cautioned that the use of foreign workers is not free of potential problems. He says that guest workers draw on the government's ability to deliver services. Governor Guerrero told his fellow Pacific leaders that in order to ensure that non-resident workers don't sweep political power from local hands, immigration control must be retained by the local government. As the rules have changed for land leases, so too have they changed for land development. Anything now on the drawing board needs to be approved by the zoning board. Glenn Wakai reports on how the permitting process is progressing in the face of the Article 12 controversy.
It used to be simple. Buy or lease land and build almost anything you wanted. But now there's a second stage where developers have to pass their plans by various government agencies. Cindy Camacho is in charge of the permitting process and says there's a lack of understanding among developers regarding Article 12.
And I think that people, a lot of the landowners do not understand the implications of the judicial interpretation and the effect that it's having on their land.
Camacho says the problems surrounding Article 12 have destabilized land values. She says zoning codes can provide just what the Commonwealth needs.
Zoning can have a positive influence in terms of providing more stability and predictability for the development community here in the Commonwealth.
Camacho says the newly established permitting process is going well. The zoning board is currently reviewing 12 applications.
We've issued 3 permits over the last 2 days. Our first permit was issued, I believe, on Monday. And so we are proceeding with issuing permits for development, and we're very pleased with the cooperation we've gotten from the development community.
Article 12 goes beyond the development community. If you're hoping to finance the purchase of a new car or your child's education, a stumbling block stands in your way. Besides clouding the economic picture in the Commonwealth, Article 12 is affecting borrowing practices. Tonight, Glenn Mackay concludes his series on how Article 12 is affecting your future purchases.
With the controversy surrounding Article 12, residents cannot bank on getting a loan for substantial purchases. Acting president of the Saipan Bankers Association, Jacques Sanchez, says the lending climate is working against customers.
With this continued decline in investments, property values have also been seen to decline with recent appraisals. So even fee-simple homeowners are starting to experience a decline in the value of their homes, further limiting the amount that they can borrow on home mortgages.
The Bank of Hawaii, Bank of Saipan, and Bank of Guam approve very few residential mortgages because they can't get title insurance for Article 12. The leading lending institution extending credit for home purchases is Guam Savings and Loan, Senior Credit Officer Glenn Perez.
You got to realize that because Bank of Guam, Bank of Hawaii don't offer mortgage loans, therefore they cannot offer equity loans on a mortgage.
Equity loans are essentially second mortgages. A home is used as collateral to back a borrower's loan.
Equity loans can be for purposes from educational purposes to purchase a furniture or appliance for the house or renovate the house.
Equity loans are a common way to improve one's quality of life. With the havoc caused by Article 12, many are being forced to apply for personal loans, which are generally smaller and have to be paid in a shorter time span.
Article 12 is it is a concern, but it's more of a concern for the island of CNMI. They must make a major decision on how they want to go about it. If they want investments or they want to pretty much dry up the island.
Sanchez says Bill 8124, currently before the Senate, will go a long way in providing damage control and a better banking environment. Palauan President Kuniwo Nakamura has been able to negotiate a settlement in the Ipsico power plant fiasco that has plagued that island nation's financial reputation for 8 years now. Nakamura traveled to London to personally negotiate a settlement out of court with the guarantor banks that provided $32 million in 1983 for the purchase of the power plant. The circumstances under which that financial package was put together has been the subject of a lawsuit in the New York court system for the past 8 years. According to a news release from the president's office, the Republic of Palau will pay $20 million over a 5-year period to settle the debt. They say that that's quite a reduction from the $32 to $64 million settlement range that the banks had previously sought to gain. Another organization that does its best to help the region is the American Red Cross. The local chapter is having its biggest fundraiser of the year this Saturday night, and according to chairwoman Heidi Dennis, the chapter is feeling the effects of the downturn in the business community.
You know, the economy is really slow, so times are tougher, and we're having a bit of a harder time. I mean, people are still reaching out and they're digging deep, but I need people to dig a little bit deeper. We don't have as many tickets in the door that we'd like. We still have plenty available, and we need to sell them. These tickets that we sell fund us for the entire year. That is what we use for operating costs to help people right here in the NMI.
Dennis says that almost all of the money raised stays on island to help residents in time of disaster or to train them what to do in case of an emergency.
We need about $150,000 a year to operate. That's just for us. We only send $7,000 to National to help us with all of our supplies and things like that. But as most people know, that anything that goes over, if we had a major typhoon, our money, then plus whatever we needed from National Red Cross would come in to help. But we have to fund a certain percentage of that. We can't just say, oh, we're in trouble, send us money. As long as we fund some of it, they can keep giving us more.
The big event is this Saturday night at the Hyatt Regency Hotel, and the tickets will be on sale until then and at the door on Saturday. No charity for the Interleague League as PIC wins on the hard court. That's what Longshot will tell you when he joins me on the set in a minute.
The Commonwealth Bowling Association will hold the first American Bowling Congress Classified Tournament on July 10th and 11th. The ABC sponsored $2,000 for the winners of each classification and will be divided equally to every event. Only ABC members are allowed to participate in this tournament. Tournament schedule is as follows. Friday, July 9th, bowl registration and membership verification and average verification. July 10th is team event, doubles, and singles event. July 11th, events for extras and awarding of prizes. Entry fee for each bowler per event is $20. For more info, call Joe Guerrero at 234-6420. And there has been a change for the starting line of the Elite MCV Liberation Mile Run. All runners will register at the Garapan Fishing Complex across the Cristo Rye Church. The finish line will be at Micro Beach. Traffic will close at 7:30 a.m., so participants, make sure you're registered by 7. In the Inter-Hotel League, the Pacific Island Club improved the record by 2-1 by defeating Coral Ocean Point 58-50. Here's the action of that game.
The PIC front court was hot in the second half. Andrew Cashy increases the lead with this one-hand jumper. Rebounding was the key for PIC as Steve Bond scores with this offensive rebound. Coral Ocean Point cuts the lead to 5 with his three-point basket. Cashy was hot as he goes around his defender with another one-handed basket. Steve Bond was the man in the paint as he makes his drive for the reverse layup. Bond was also chairman of the boards as he grabs another offensive rebound for 2 points. After the game, we talked to the front court of PIC.
There was one big guy for Coral Ocean Point, Jeff, that really gave us a tough time. We just kept switching off defense with him. Really kept us alive. Well, if we had to guard him all the time, each of us would be really, really tough. So.
You know, he's a solid player. We just needed to keep the ball passing. We didn't move the ball last week against Nico, and we just had to start playing like a team. Got some of our little guys in there, some of the good ball handlers, and started playing some hard defense because just haven't been doing it. Turned it on today.
I was just looking to pass the ball, and they didn't guard me, so I'll shoot over them anytime. So second half, they guarded me a lot tighter.
Coach just said we just got to start putting the ball on people. Russ Quinn, our manager, just gave us some words of inspiration. We just tore it up.
Inspiration had to be the big key today.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It was just
we got a lot of help from all our team. We really used our bench well. Good bench. They played tough. They played smart today.
Good evening and welcome back. I'm Lauren Harrison. Tonight's forecast calls for partly cloudy skies with isolated light late night showers with winds blowing easterly 10 to 15 miles per hour. The low temperature will be in the upper 70s. Today we posted the highest temperature in the Pacific with a 90-degree reading. Rhoda and Tinian posted the same temperature of 87 degrees under sunny skies. Palau is 87 under partly cloudy skies. Our neighbor in Guam posted 87 degrees under mostly sunny skies. Yap was mostly cloudy with 84. Majuro was partly cloudy and 85. And Pohnpei a cloudy 87 degrees. Chuuk today posted 82 degrees under partly cloudy skies, and in the Pacific, Manila was under hazy skies with a daytime high of 86 degrees. Honolulu was under mostly sunny skies with 86 degrees. Hong Kong posted 84 under partly cloudy skies, and Tokyo had rain with a high of 66. Seoul recorded a foggy 64. Taipei posted 88 degrees under partly cloudy skies, and down under in Sydney, Australia, the temperature was 50 degrees under mostly sunny skies. Seas tonight will be slight to moderate, 3 to 5 feet. Surf conditions 4 to 6 feet on northeastern clockwise through southern exposures and 1 to 3 feet elsewhere. Our first tide this evening is due up at 7:15 with a high of 2.3 feet, and it will drop to a low of 1.6 feet at 11:57 p.m. Tonight, the sun will set at 6:52, and tomorrow morning it will rise at an early 5:57 a.m. For tomorrow, expect mostly sunny skies with isolated early morning and late afternoon light showers. Look for a high temperature in the low 90s. That's all for our weather report.
Thank you very much. I think that we should take a moment to introduce Lorraine Harrison. She is our reporter intern, and Vicki Tadella is just a little bit under the weather, so we're happy to bring Loren on. And are you a little nervous?
Just a little.
You did fine. What'd you think, Longshot?
Not too bad.
Good job. So on behalf of the entire KMCV News team, we'd like to thank you for joining us, and we will see you back again tomorrow night. Good night.
Good night.